And we are live. Welcome back to the third episode of Behind the Workbench, not Tiny Tabletop. I am Jon.
I'm De Yang.
And so for Behind the Workbench, if this is your first time here, this is a more chill stream. We're not going through new information per se. We're just going to talk a little bit about why we did certain things in the designing of our upcoming TTRPG, Aeons of Adventure. Right. So this is a Kickstarter that we're working on right now. It's a TTRPG. It's not compatible with 5th edition or any other TTRPG. So this is it's a unique TTRPG that we're making, and the pre-launch page is in the description below. Same with all of our other links. So feel free to take a look as you listen to us ramble about all of these topics. Right. We have gone through a couple of things in the past week or so. We've gone through the Sentinel Mastery, right? That was on Saturday or Friday. And we also released a video. So this is a clip. It's not really a video, right? So I released clips of certain topics that I've talked about in the first episode, and as well as a clip of the human race, right? And I realized that in the human race one, we didn't actually go through a lot of things about humans in general for Corinthia. I mean, it's quite a... At the point in time, we were making it pretty simple. So we didn't go through like a lot of the things in great depth. So I'll just talk a little bit about those things later, right? We'll be using the second scene. Let me think. Okay. Let's just jump right into the topics. So I'll have the prompts on the screen, and the prompts are just there's not going to be any information, right? So we're just gonna briefly talk about Sentinel. So we'll go through the different prompts, and then this one will be about Sentinel, right? Sentinel. So Sentinel is our shield mastery, and it was supposed to be our representation, our take on playing the shield guy in TTRPGs, right? And inside the VOD for Sentinel, I mentioned very often that shield guys feel very bad to play in a TTRPG, or in not just TTRPGs, actually quite a lot of games in general.
In general, you rarely get that fantasy actually. So actually, shield is one of the few fantasies that's very very underwhelming. It's usually used as like it's not even used as a backup weapon. That's the saddest part. It's just treated as like a free armor in a way.
Yep, it's typically very passive, as you mentioned. So it's free armor. It's meant to be just this thing that you slap on. It's in MMOs. It can just be a stat stick. It doesn't compose of particular parts of your gameplay. I know, for example, in World of Warcraft and in Final Fantasy, right? Less so in Final Fantasy, more in World of Warcraft. So like paladins or warriors, you require a shield to do certain actions. Paladins in FF, they're just part of your weapons. That's the way the game works, right? So it's animated that way. But in a lot of these games, these shields are very much
disposable.
They're like disposable. They're not a core part of their identity. They're not blocking, intercepting, and all those kind of things like that, right? So we wanted to create this fantasy that is more realistic of actually using a shield, and a shield is badass. Like in real life, like a shield is really OP. There are a couple of weapons that are very strong, right? Like spears, shields, and bows. Those are the three things that are insanely powerful in real life, but are very underrepresented. They're not particularly sexy, right?
They're not okay. It's not that they're underrepresented. It's more of like they are just. There's nothing that stands out of like between them and like any other like melee weapon. So like, what's the difference? If you ask anyone, what's the difference between a spear and like a sword? They just say, oh, the spear gives me more range. Like
Right.
full stop. That's it. Like there isn't like any like, oh, a spear is better because of like this and that, and like I mean, yes, distance is a very big important thing, especially in games like
range, right?
Range, because range usually gives safety, right? So you do have those kind of thing, but in general, if I were to take a spear, I remove the range. What's so different between that and the normal sword? There's nothing much, yeah. So
And
it's very very unrepresented.
This is a philosophy that we have taken across to all of our different weapons and spells and things like that. We want to give unique identities to all of them. And in this case, so Sentinel is our take on what is the unique identity of a shield, which is that shields you protect. So it's either you protect yourself or you protect an ally, right? And it is a weapon that is actively used. You swing your shield at people, or you put your shield in between an attack and something. Could be yourself, could be your ally, right? And by trying to create this fantasy in a mechanical way in Aeons of Adventure. What we came up with was the skill set that we have in Sentinel in the basic set, which is 5 skills. These are 5 core skills, right? So the skills that we went through were shields up, which is you put your shield up. You have intervention, which is you block an attack when someone else is getting hit. Then there is shield charge, which is you charge an enemy, right? And then you grapple them, you shove them. The next one is payback. So payback is reflecting the attack back. And the very last one was deflecting a projectile back. So I think fantasy-wise, all of these skills are very basic, right? You would think that these are realistic things for people to do. But I've come to find that in most games, you don't even get to do those things.
You kind of do, but it's not like how do you explain it? You're not exactly, it's not clear, correct? There's a few steps to do it before you actually does that exact component or like the ideal fantasy that you want to do it. In here, that's what we're trying to do, which is like it's especially obvious with a lot of our other skills as well, where at level 1 the fantasy or shield is pretty set in stone. You can see where the progression is. How will you play as a character, as a fantasy? How does it play out? So that's the whole aim. And so, and I think I mentioned this also multiple times, especially I think during Sentinel, the review itself, which is specifically for Sentinel, we were actually looking more at like the deflection and like the healing, the shielding part, and not really the offensive aspect of shield, which is actually something that's also not explored as well.
That's right. I think the ones that have done it, to my knowledge, right, the most prominent ones were things like Diablo 3 in particular. So Diablo 4 not really. Diablo 3 has the Crusader, I believe. The Crusader has shield charge, shield bash, and things like that. And similar to Path of Exile. So Path of Exile also has shield crush, which is their equivalent of shield charge. And then you have actual shield charge.
They have the shield toss also.
And shield toss. Shield toss is also available in Crusader, in Diablo 3 as well. I think Diablo 2 has Blessed Shield. I don't remember. I think it was mainly Diablo 3. Right. So in these games, they have that shield fantasy in the sense that the shield is a weapon, like Captain America style, right? You're throwing a weapon. It's being used in a offensive manner, right? That's something that's not explored in the basic set. We did not do that. We focused on the defensive, reactive support play style.
So there's also a reason why we didn't go into the offensive, which is when I was designing the thing, I was thinking actually more of like, do we need, we should showcase more support stuff. So shield was one of the few things that I feel like, okay, we could actually move the offensive stuff for future stuff. So like maybe we will have like a 5 skill release, like free, I don't know, correct, in the future lah. But basically the focus here is I want it to be more defensive, and so that's how we get the 5
currently in the lineup of masteries we have for the basic set. So if you're taking a look at some of the VODs, like for example the different masteries that we have covered, there will be a total of 12 different masteries, right? We have covered currently 9. With Sentinel it will be 9. 9 different masteries. There'll be magical masteries, martial masteries, and specialist masteries, right? All of these things will cover different type of archetypes. So this can be an offensive, like pure damage dealer, a tanky sort of support, a more fragile support, right? Healers, range DPS, medium range DPS, mobile characters, immobile characters. So we're trying to cover as wide of a spectrum as possible to cater to as many different fantasies, right? Within a typical TTRPG.
I think that's the main keyword here, which is fantasies. Like that's the main like key point of reference for most of the stuff, which is how do I brief it a fantasy, correct? Like with Sentinel, what's the fantasy like? Okay, so easy like immediate fantasy out there is like the tank class.
Yes.
Correct. He defends, he blocks, he protects. Correct.
Yes.
Then for example, like what is a fantasy of a bow class? Correct. He shoot arrow from range, full stop.
Correct.
And that's exactly what was designed for the archery mastery, and a few additional stuff to help it looks more like to buff up and make it look much more cooler and interesting lah. Instead of it just I shoot an arrow, full stop. Right.
It is more of a mechanically trying to integrate the class fantasy of these more niche weapons. So things like bows. Traditionally martial. I think martial is the one that is very underrepresented when it comes to achieving the specific class fantasy that you want to achieve in a TTRPG.
Yeah, especially because I feel like most games, right, when they do martial, they just think, okay, we will slash the sword, and then that's it.
Mm,
Right?
mm,
Like that's the like they treat every martial attack as a basic attack in that sense,
mm,
and instead they give magic a bit more like fantasy sounding stuff like, oh, fireball, firebolt. What's the
mm,
difference?
mm,
Correct. At the
mm.
end of the day, a firebolt is just a fireball but smaller.
Right.
Right. But why do we have that specialized like naming and like stylized skills for magic, and why can't we do it for martial as well? So that is also the reason why we split this kind of stuff, and we created mastery as a result.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm. When it comes to Sentinel in particular, so Sentinel, yeah, so Sentinel is our shield mastery.
Mm.
It covers a lot of the protection stuff as we
Mm.
mentioned just now, right? And in particular, the defensive mobile protection thing. The reason why we have went with this version of the shield mastery with the mobility and everything is
Mm.
that in our grand spectrum of masteries for the basic set, currently the only support masteries that we realistically have are Radiance, this, and Inspiration. So
Mm.
Radiance, Sentinel, Inspiration, right? Radiance is our typical cleric, slightly mixed in with a bit of a paladin vibe. Then when it comes down to the inspiration is more of the buff guy,
Mm.
right? There's commander DNA within inspiration.
Mm.
So things like charge to ask your allies to move forward on my mark,
Mm.
and getting your
It's a
allies
lot
to
more
stand up.
like it's a more indirect support, if you can't really imagine that way. Like I'm not directly making you do, okay, you kind of are, but I'm not directly forcing you to attack. Correct. I'm giving your next attack or your next action a better chance of succeeding.
I
Right.
would say
Yeah.
inspiration is the least personal
Yeah,
mastery.
yeah.
Support method
Mm.
currently available in the basic set, and the radiance one is personal in the sense that yes, you are healing a specific target, and there is a little bit of like aura protecting of your allies. But when it comes to the shield guy is very much so you are in melee range of all of these problems. You are getting into the weeds of it. You're protecting your ally by putting
Yeah.
yourself in between you and an enemy, right?
Like Sentinel are more direct problem solvers, if you can
Yep.
put it that way. They because a lot of the skills are I will move in to take the damage, or I will not take damage, or I'll just make you take the damage instead, stuff like that. So it's a bit more compared to the other two support types. They are a lot more like interactive in that sense, active. Yeah. So they play a lot more into the tactical aspect of the entire game in general. Yeah.
But when it comes to the tactical thing,
Mm.
there's something that we did play around with what do you call it, initially, and we didn't really stick to it, which was that the idea of taunt, right? Taunt is something that is a bit controversial.
Controversy is not really the correct word. It's weird in that how, okay, so picture this in real life, because at the end of the day, let's be really honest about this, which is TTRPGs are about like how it's kind of mimicking real life, and in real life, how do I taunt someone and keep what we call aggro, correct? Like how do you do that? In game it's easy. I have an aggro meter, full stop, correct? Like it's clear, it's very simple, and then X damage does additional aggro. Okay, clear what? Correct. But that is not how it works in real life. Like I can't just say like bad words to the guy and then that causes him to always attack me. And it's also there's this weird thing where how do I make sure that he only attacks me? Correct. Like it will feel bad if it becomes a what we call bane, so a negative effect on the guy when he's taunted. So like I think some game does this, which if I taunt you, you don't attack me, you get a disadvantage. And that is something that we don't really want to go into, where because it's kind of a rabbit hole in that sense lah. Yeah.
I think it does boil down to a little bit of two issues here, which is that there is a mechanical component to this, and then there is a role-play component to this that does not seem to gel very well, right? So you have the mechanical component, which is yes, I make this target, I'm gonna taunt this guy, this target is gonna try and attack me, force all of his aggro towards me. Give me a moment right here. Right, formulate this. So give all the aggro towards me and then attack me, right? So that is mechanically what is supposed to happen when you taunt. But when you roleplay, the monster is being played by the game master.
Correct.
I'm making decisions as the game master, right? And if you are telling me, hey, I have to attack you, Do I?
Why?
Why?
Okay,
Right.
so that is also one of the main issue we have, which is both the role playing aspect as well as the combat aspect, which we are kind of more focused on. If don't get me wrong, we have lesser focus on the role playing aspect, but we still see that it is an important aspect in the game, right? So when both of these are actually in conflict,
Like direct conflict.
direct conflict, right? And then there is actually solving either of the issues, right? Actually, there was no benefit. Right. Like very bluntly, there is no benefit to this. Like if I solve it for the role playing stuff, the combat is going to suck. And that is a key negative, a key point for me to not hit, which is the combat must not be bad. No one must play the game like when they do combat feels bad. Correct. Then if that's the case, right, then this guy would slowly lose interest over time, and that's not something that we want. Right. And however, on the flip side, if you solve it for the combat aspect, the role players will feel that this is just a meta thing, right? And then they will just always do that method. So and then it will grow into a very bad poison in that sense, lah. Correct.
That is something that happened with Thorn in some of the other iterations of it. For example, in D&D, I think there's like challenge in the champion. I don't remember if it was a champion or if it was a feat or something like that. But basically, there are ways to challenge people and to make them by granting disadvantages on attacking anybody else except you. Compelled to do as a spell. I believe the armorer or an artificer can do it with one of his gauntlet types or something like that, along those lines. It's mechanically, yes, technically it is a taunt. You are discouraging them from attacking anybody else.
Correct. But it okay, so a lot of these things are like, okay, so if I use it against the DM, right, I feel good. But what happens if the DM is playing an enemy that is also humanoid and they can use these skills also? Then as a player, it will not feel good anymore.
I'm not sure it even feels good if you use it against all four. In the sense that, what are you really doing exactly? You're just imposing disadvantage on everybody else.
Basically, yeah.
Right. Okay, that could be a skill by itself. Why is that taunt?
Why is that taunt? Yeah.
Right. So, it's very strange.
So, I think it in the end it boils down to the fact that when we actually dissected taunt, it didn't make sense in like multiple aspects. It wasn't like a single aspect. Yeah.
In TTRPGs, because specifically a game master is running the game, right? It really doesn't make sense to taunt a target.
Because it's a very interaction heavy kind of genre in the first place.
It's very much a mechanics thing.
Correct.
Because it's meant to drive the AI of the monster towards you, right? To put it
it's gamey.
It's very gamey.
It's very gamey. But that's the whole purpose and aim, and that's also the reason why in games especially you see traditional roles. Like roles are a thing in traditional games, but let's say for example, if you remove aggro, correct, then technically roles in games doesn't make sense anymore. You don't really need a tank.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Don't get me wrong, but
because the whole concept of tank is the idea of you have to protect whoever is fully investing their character to deal damage, and then things like keeping people alive and things like that. So naturally, there's a trifecta that is formed. Correct. When it comes to roles, right? Tanks, DPS, healers, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the tank that we know of in MMOs and games, yes, it doesn't make sense because it is very much centered around the fact that a lot of these mechanics are automated. These are games, these are AI, these are video games.
It's timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's timeline. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same reason that you don't want too many rolls or too many different numbers or math or dices, because in real life you're calculating the dices. Right, you have to roll, you have to count, and you do that in real time.
That's also the reason why like most online games are very successful. Like when I meant online games, I mean like BG3 is one of them. Right? Because everything's automated.
VDTs, right?
Yeah, VDTs, yeah, right. That's the better word for it. VDTs in general. And I think that's also the reason why like online players are more and more popular. Yeah.
The red glow of the communism is the greatest. This is it's a sneak peek as to It's the sneak peek as to one of the scenes within the adventure that will be inside our Kickstarter. Our Kickstarter. It comes with a free adventure from level 1 to free. Included adventure from level 1 to 5, 64 pages.
I mean, it is free.
Yeah. it's free if you get the book.
You're effectively buying the system.
Yes. That's true.
So that's also one of the things where we look at, we are trying to sell you the system, right? And when you think of it as selling you the system, right? How do I make the system good? Correct. Like that's the keyword, ma. And mastery, all these are part of how we make the system good and how it enhances replayability between players and between like sessions, stuff like that.
Replayability and just comfort. I think it needs to be
comfort.
comfortable to just run the game. You're not focusing on doing too much math. You're not focusing on like worrying about like what's 7 plus 10 times 2 plus 5. Roll 2d6 now and add the number. Like, okay, man. Like,
And
that's why combat feels stressful sometimes, right?
After that, half the damage because there's invulnerability.
There's resistance.
Resistance,
yes.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So those are a lot of like, there's too much steps to actually playing the game. Right. So in our system with masteries, with the 2d6 roll, the strike rolls, even the armor, the evasion, right, are all systems that we have made and like thought through to make the process more fun,
more streamlined.
More streamlined, yeah.
More streamlined. But when it comes to Sentinel in particular, so back to the taunting topic, right? So taunting is something that only makes sense if it's automated.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense if a game master is controlling the monsters and they should be role-playing to the best of their ability whatever the monsters are supposed to be doing in that scene. If they take a lot of damage, maybe they are more annoyed at this target, or perhaps if they take too much, they may try to run away. Right? If they see a wizard constantly casting spells and it's hurting their allies, they should target this wizard in the distance, right? Or if they can't see it, there's no reason for them to actually target. They might try to find this person, but in a narrative manner, you should be trying to figure out where this target is instead.
It's either that or if you are like some not say crazy guy, but if you are some like normal guy and you don't know, this target is in this area and there is no way you can do anything about it, right? What people might do is I will just firebomb the area.
Oh yeah, that's true. Maybe if you're a wizard, just fireball the area. Yeah. So these are things that are decided by the game master when they play a monster to the best of their ability, roleplay what the monster should be doing. And taunting, I think, directly undermines what the GM can decide for a monster, because you're mechanically saying, hey, you now have to hit me. So hit me, right? And that's something that we just didn't want to do for Sentinel. Instead, we decided to make it reactive instead. So Sentinel, a lot of the skills are, when my ally gets hit, when my ally takes damage, I'm going to go and protect him. I'm going to go and deflect this attack. Somebody shoots a projectile at me, I'm going to deflect this projectile, right? So these are things where, yes, I have a shield, I'm going to do things with my shield instead of undermining what other people or other players or game masters are player, right? So other players are doing and what they should be doing to play the game, right? I will participate in this by being reactive and active in my shield.
To a bit address that, not say address, but to add on to that whole thing, right? When we went reactive and active, right? What we meant actually is because you have to look at the status of the combat, what's going on. You have to understand what's going on, right? Because any actions they are doing, right? So like for example, taking what you have said, which is like, I'll reflect this projectile. All of this costs stamina, correct? And these are very specific.
Deflecting the projectile does not cost stamina.
Oh wait, yeah.
Of everything, you chose the one that does not. That's passive. That's passive.
Okay, yeah. So for example, like taking damage for another guy, right?
Yes.
So
intervening.
Correct.
Right.
So you could also chain that. You could chain that actually with the reflect projectile, right? Which is I have to take into consideration that I want to help my allies. So the way to do that is I will intervene. So that is one stamina cost, and then my passive proc is that I manage to reflect the projectile. Stuff like that. Because unless they target you, then that's a whole different story, lah.
On that point, so when it comes to being active, yes, you are thinking about these decisions, but I think what it boils down to is that you are thinking. Correct. You are participating in the combat. You're paying attention to the combat, right? So even when it's not your round, a monster's going off or your ally is doing something, you're paying attention because you're thinking, okay, he's about to do this. Should I do something to react, to help him, to aid him, to protect him? Oh, this monster is now going after my friend. Or should I start to think about, can I help this person here, right? And all of these things, even though you're not actually taking an action yet, paying attention to the combat keeps players engaged, right? And I find that when it comes to, for example, D&D, in D&D, once you have spent your turn, you have spent your action economy, you stop paying attention. It's not your turn now because not because you you don't want to care, but in the sense that what can you do?
Yeah.
There's no reason to care because you have spent everything you could have done.
Correct.
You can't take a bonus action now. I can't force myself to go inside and do something, right?
Speaking from a player perspective, so this is what I felt, which is like when it's not my turn, right? Because like a player combat turn is so draggy, it's so long. You can't you just can't focus, correct? Then you slowly like, oh, okay, it's this guy. Okay, I know he's gonna take like 1 hour to do his entire combat move. Right. So it's like I know I can sleep off for the next half an hour. And then maybe when I wake up, right, the fight is done. Right. And that's the thing where you will also slowly realize, not with our system but with normal like TTRPG and stuff like that.
So specifically, we're talking about people who take your traditional initiative system, which is everybody has their individual initiative and they're taking turn by turn by turn.
So we are talking about like.
So we use side-based initiative.
Correct.
We use players, enemies, and then everything else, and then players, enemies, everything else.
Yeah. So quite specifically, like if you talk about initiative, right, like because you wouldn't even know if the enemy will survive till your turn.
That's right.
And that's the main issue that I've seen, and that's also one of the it's not the reason why I went with side-based. But it was one of a few good reasons. Yeah.
It's a good reason. It's a good reason. It's one of the pointers, right? There's a whole bunch of reasons for going side-based, and that is one of them.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think we have rambled on enough about Sentinel. Let's take a look at our second prompt. So we'll be going through different prompts, and I'm going to change this line over here. We'll just cover a couple of topics. We're just talking about random things, and if you have any questions at any point in time, feel free to drop it in the comments. Right. So I'm going to change this is prompt 13, so I'll change to prompt 14. Okay, I'm going to ramble a little bit about humans right now. Humans, I feel like people have given up on making humans interesting because humans are, we're human, right? Like everybody who's playing a TTRPG is human.
I don't think that's the reason. I think the reason why people don't take humans anymore is just that when they are creating classes, when they are creating characters, right? They are not looking at it as, oh, this race is interesting. That race is interesting because of visual, because of what their law and stuff like that. They are looking at it from a very like player perspective where they are looking at, okay, what do I get as a human? Right. So the whole dynamic has changed, and because with more releases, right, you will get more races, correct? And with more races, right, there may or may not be more overpowering like new mastery, new skills correct? Like okay, new additional like stats, correct? So maybe your human used to be +1 to everything, then like
that's D&D. You get like a feat, you get to choose your random stat.
Then imagine your new race that came out, right? Because if you think about it also, they want you to try and play the new race, correct? It makes sense. It fully makes sense. So like to make that a very obvious choice that okay, now this race, right, everything +2. Then there's no reason why you ever pick a human, correct? Unless you like the visual of the human, but actually if you think about it also, okay, I could just use the new race and then reskin it to be a human.
I mean that's interesting because that's the mechanical issue with humans in a lot of role-playing games. Traditionally, humans have always been versatile, resilient. Yes, of course, that's the traditional thing, right? Because these are the guys who are everywhere. They're the most common. If you're the most common, you have to be the most versatile and the most resilient. Correct. If not, you wouldn't be everywhere, right? So traditionally, yes, that has been human. But the question is, mechanically, how does that really make sense, right? As you mentioned, with different races come different passives, different abilities, and of course, certain things are going to be better for certain class fantasies you're trying to achieve, certain characters and masteries. But at the end of the day, I think everybody can relate to being a human because they are human, right? And it is also true that most players do pick human statistically, right? When they create a character, if they are not sure about something, until they get more familiar with like, okay, we really want to try and like play this very niche thing or very specific concept. That could be a tiefling, could be an elf, maybe I want to roleplay like a druid, right? And then I'm not a human in that sense. But if you're newer to roleplaying and you're not someone who's very in tune with fantasy or whatnot, most people do tend to just be like, okay, I want to play human fighter.
Male human fighter.
Yeah, male human fighter, right? Like the most typical combination, I believe in like Baldur's Gate and on D&D Beyond, like the most commonly created characters and classes is male human fighter, right? And when it comes to that point, yes, it is the most served concept in fantasy because it is very well. It represents a lot of people who are playing role-playing games as well, which is mostly guys who are, they want to swing a sword.
Correct. Yeah. And I think also adding on to that is also right, because even in like your games and stuff, right? Your video games lah. What is even the easiest character that, well, not say easiest, but the most created character? It's usually the male human. Correct. Unless you're talking about some niche game that the human doesn't like human, then that's not the point here anymore lah.
Well, at that point, yeah, are they humans?
Are they humans, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
are they really humans?
And I think more for those cases which is actually there isn't even like stats, obvious stats that's tied to them, and they still don't make human. Right? After their first character or second maybe. Right. So it's like, is it what's the reasoning behind? Is it like because you can relate to it too much? Correct. Because that may be the problem, correct?
Yeah, it's true. Some people when they play video games, they don't want to play characters who
They
are
want
like
to
them.
disassociate.
They wanna purposefully avoid whatever is most like them. That is more common in Asian countries. I think in Japan, it is very much more apparent that they want to play something that is out of this world. They want to escape, right? So their focus is on escapism. They don't want to put themselves inside there. They want to be this other character. But at the same time, there is definitely a crowd of people who want to play human, because that's why isekai is such a big genre, right? Isekai is literally another world in which you die, like you yourself die,
and you become human.
and you go to another world and you're still human.
Okay, I mean, it's not always human, but
usually
it's
human. Yeah.
It can be a vending machine.
That's besides the point, right? So when it comes to that whole thing, so yes, you want to play a human. So how do you make humans interesting? In Aeons of Adventure, the way that races work is that instead of picking a race and it comes with a full set of abilities or passives, what happens is, depending on your races, you get ancestries. So for example, if you are a human, then you have human ancestry in you, right? You could be half. For example, you could be half an elf and half a human. You could still look like a human or an elf from the outside, right? But you now technically have two ancestries, right? And at different levels, you will pick up racial skills. In our case, at level 1, you have one racial point and you'll pick up one racial skill, right? And if you're a human, then you have a couple of options. So instead of creating a bunch of sub-races, a bunch of different races, what we have in our system is that each race comes with multiple racial skills and you choose from these. So you can play a human more than once and have different experiences and builds based on what racial skill you've chosen, right? These are choices that and the whole concept of choices goes through all of the decisions that you make in Aeons of Adventure, be it your armor type, being your weapons, being your spells, your skills, expertise, everything, right? So this extends to races as well. And when it comes to that, it starts to blur the line as to, okay, then in that sense, then humans or races in general for Aeons of Adventure start to become more focused on things like lore, things like your visual fantasy and things like that, along those lines. Of course, there are certain traits that you can't change. An example being that a claimant is short. You are, that's your limit, right? You have 25 feet of movement and you are small, right? that is the rule that we've given to them. Of course, there are ways that they can counteract that, but that is the baseline for them. But when it comes to the passive issue, which you have in, for example, in Dungeons and Dragons, and if you pick an orc, and the orc gets like, the critical bonus, stuff like that. These are things that we have detached partially. They're not fully detached, of course.
Yeah, correct.
Right?
They're not fully detached, yes.
Like human skills, you still have to be a human to have human skills, right? It's just that we have given more variety and more range, and a lot of the things that we have given to human in particular is focused on heroism, right? To put it cleanly, right, as precisely as possible, it is about heroism. It is about having it's about luck. It's about
how did they beat the odds to be so varied?
Right.
Not varied, sorry, to be so like widely spread out.
Right. The most widespread. Yeah, most widespread. Yeah. Because when I think about humans, right, actually, for example, in Lord of the Rings, when I think about humans, I'm not actually thinking about Aragorn or
those are heroes.
Right, those are the heroes. It's true. But what's the most human story in all of Lord of the Rings is actually the Hobbits. Honestly, the Hobbits have the most human story. Right? You're going there, yes, of course, they're supposed to be meek and whatnot, but most people are meek and stuff, right? And so when you look at the humans that we have in Aeons of Adventure, it's actually more akin to a halfling or a gnome in terms of mechanics. Right? You have some luck components as a part of it, and then you have right, and the one that we reviewed in the video is Unbreakable Spirit, for you to stand up when you're down, right? It's to keep fighting, right? To move on after you're pushing yourself to the limits. Of course, you can push yourself even further to the limits through other mechanics, but this is something that you get for free as a human.
I mean, once
But
a
you
day,
can
but
choose, you
still.
can choose, yeah.
Yeah. But so that's also one of the design spaces that we actually reserved quite strongly, like quite early in the development process. We were very specific about like races being a real like choice that players have and will make. So it was actually one of the few things that we actually started out with, which is like, okay, our first few playtests we already had skills for the players to choose races wise, correct? So I think they had like two. They basically had two skills,
Yeah,
right?
from the start, most of the
Maybe two or
races
one?
already had
Two lah,
two.
yeah.
They
Most of them
already
had
had two
two already,
skills.
correct.
Straight, yeah.
Some of them did change at the end. Like it was swapped out or addition nerf and buff was done to it. But in general, we basically had two skills all the way from our first playtest. Yeah.
Right. So we've been playtesting Aeons of Adventure for about 2 years at this point.
Yeah.
Um
2 years plus.
yeah, about 2 years. About 2 years, yeah.
So also to add on to that, so that's the reason why races mastery is very, very important as well. Yeah. Like, and it was kind of born from the fact that how do we make humans interesting?
Right. That's the genesis of it, right?
It was not about how do we make players choose the different races. It was actually how do we make players choose human.
In particular, to make it mechanically interesting and not just always like a free card. Essentially,
like we didn't want players to pick human, right? Because they had the most broken skill. We want players to pick human because it is complementary to their fantasy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like that's the main thing. Like I will keep on saying this, which is everything is trying to tie into the fantasy.
Yes,
right?
the fantasy of what character you want to make. Exactly what you want to make. And not just an approximation.
Yeah.
Like, because the most popular characters out there, be it villains or whatnot, are humans at the end of the day. Even in the box cover, right? So the main character is a human, simply because most main characters are human. Geralt, yeah, he's a witcher, but he's human. He's essentially
basically human, yeah.
Right? Be it Arthur's in Warcraft, the Derp Lander in the Final Fantasy trailers, Skyrim guy, Dragonborn, he's still human. He looks human, right? Yes, you can technically pick the other characters, but not, these they're still human.
The default choices are humans,
right? And to make them interesting. And so when it comes to Aeons of Adventure and the world, so the basic set is set in the world of Corinthia. And we have, when you get the basic set, if you back the Kickstarter, it comes with a A3 map. So there's A3, it fits inside the box, you fold it in half, it's inside the box, right? So it's an A3 map of one of the continents, one of the regions of the continents. And humans, even though they're the most widespread, they do have a home continent where most humans hang around. It's not the central continent, which is the one that is where the adventure takes place in. It is a different continent to the south. If you have seen the post on X, I have a male and a female human. One is in kind of like this armor of a red cloak, and the other one is wearing this sort of like black, tight dress, mage-looking leather armor. I'm not sure how to describe it, but basically it's leather armor, right? It's light armor. And I put Dawn and Dust next to it, right? And these are not sub-races. Dawn and Dust is not a sub-race. What they represent is actually a faction within the human kingdoms. And so within the world of Corinthia, yes, it's a fantasy world, there are kingdoms, there are empires and things like that. And in the southern continent, it's ruled by different human kingdoms, and it's all humans. Right? And the core kind of identity behind humans, especially the ones in the south, is in the post I put heroes and heretics, right? So heroes and heresy, or you can think about it this way as being righteous or courageous and being treacherous, right? And I think that's something that we want to really amplify in the fantasy aspect of this in Aeons of Adventure and in Corinthia, which is that humans are the people who are most likely to commit the best things and the worst things.
They have the potential.
Yes. And I think I'll go further to that, which is that they are most likely to in the first place, right? Simply because that is their nature. They are the most extreme when it comes to those things, morals, values, and whatnot. Other races might be persuaded by other pursuits that could be
more one-sided.
Yeah, not exactly one-dimensional. It's just that they have a different what's the word for it? A different goal in mind. For example, the elves have a focus on nature, the Daira have a focus on divinity. That could be the gods, that could be a divinity of a different element, right? It could be radiant, could be shadow, could be arcane, could be a bunch of things, right? The claimant have their own thing
Life
with
goals.
so
Life
yeah,
goals.
life goals basically.
Yeah.
Like they want to have like craftsmanship, traits, and creating a specific masterwork. And then the Viennans have combat, right? Combat is their thing. They are martial race. And there's also the whole idea of honor and glory and family.
But that's going to their sub races,
Right. That is going into the specific the races. But when it comes to human focuses on treachery and glory. Right. Being heroic and being, a treacherous bastard. To be like, he's like an assassin, like a necromancer, a knight, right? On the other hand, right? So that's why we have Dusk and Dawn, and Dusk and Dawn represent the two different factions or kingdoms within the human kingdoms to the south, and you have like the Dusk, quote unquote, Dusk Kingdom and the Dawn Kingdom. That's not their name, right? It's just to represent what they are, right? Which is represented by knightly looking guy and necromancer looking guy, right? And in the thing, I also give like a little blurb, which is that they committed a great heresy during an era in the past, right? An aeon in the past. So Aeons of Adventure in Corinthia, the current basic set is taking place not in the first aeon. It's taking place, in the middle of history, just like most stories, right? You never really start at the start. You start in the middle. And so the baggage that humans have had is that humans have done a bunch of things, and they have committed what other races consider heresy, right? So there is this stigma. So it's kind of turning this against humans, right? If you compare this to other games, this could be like tieflings, like they made a deal with the devil or whatever, right? Humans in Corinthia are the guys who other races look at with a little bit of disdain. They're like, "Ooh, these guys, they took the wrong side in history at some point in time."
Even though they are the most widespread people, they are still viewed mostly with that.
At least by certain groups. At least by certain groups, right? And that's something that I think, in a law sense, in Corinthia especially, makes role playing humans slightly different.
So like when you roleplay a human, correct? There will be a few things that may happen because you are a human, but I mean that's normal. But especially for humans, right? You might have more extremities because of your race's past. Not even your past, but your race's past.
Of course, disclaimer.
Of
If you don't want
course.
to play any form of, like discrimination in your games, don't do it. Right?
Yeah.
Just
I mean-
just you don't have to do this. This is something that we've written into the law.
Correct.
It's just for flavor. You don't have to actually do this.
Correct. So these are things that can happen. That's why I say it can happen. Whether you actually play through it, and I don't think we actually can't remember, but I don't think we actually wrote those for the starter adventures. So yes, I don't think.
Only like a hint of it, not explicitly,
Like,
because
it's not-
taking place in a different continent.
Correct. And they have bigger problems to deal with.
Oh yeah.
Correct.
They have much bigger problems.
They do not have time for racial discrimination. Yeah.
Right. So that's just a little bit more about why we made the humans the way that they are, their skills, why there's no sub-races, right?
And
Things like that.
I think specifically why we even have humans as humans.
Right. Yeah. There are some games out there that just straight up remove humans, because a lot of people do find humans not so interesting.
Not that they remove humans. They have
They have
humans, but they rebrand humans.
Humans,
Yeah, humans.
I think it was like for example in like
FF.
no not FF humans is just humans, but like Zelda, like the humans are basically like sort of elves,
Oh yeah.
right? Like Link and Zelda, they have like but everybody is like
they
pointy
replaced it basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, they have their own reasons, but then essentially you're playing a human, right? Like that is the default guy. Yeah. Okay. With that, let's move on to something else. So that is prompt 14, 15. Okay. This adds a little bit more to just now our conversation about Sentinel and why we decided to have a little bit more of a focus on weapons. Martial caster divide in TTRPGs have notoriously been problematic.
Okay, so very simple. Why would you? Okay, it's not an obvious answer to this, but why would you ever play a martial class? Because in most games, like martial class are just I swing my weapon, full stop. Like it's not cool, correct? And coming from a video game perspective, correct? It feels very weird that why am I only doing like quite specifically with martial weapons, why am I only doing basic attacks? It doesn't make sense. Like, why don't I get those cool things from the magic side? Like, why can't I swing my sword in a very cool way?
A great example,
Right.
when it comes to this issue is the Battle Master in D&D. Battle Master have like maneuvers and tactics and things like that. And if you look at it one way, every battle maneuver is a cantrip or spell. You consume a resource. You have your own resource. You consume a resource, and then you're doing a specific martial maneuver, which is it's a spell.
It's basically
right. It's basically a spell. Yes, there's no magic technically, but you are using a limited action or a very specific move set or action to do X thing.
Yeah.
Right, and it is not just damage, and I think that's very important. Is that because martial maneuvers in the Battle Master are not just about doing damage. They're about inflicting some kind of debuff or perhaps reacting to what your enemies are or where they're at or the positions that they are currently in the situation with a very specific tool or skill. So that is something that we have taken and we have expounded upon and kind of given it to everybody, right? So everybody has spells in a sense.
Correct.
If you think about it.
So, I think a very easy way to put it is, right, basically the reason why martial have skills, techniques like in our case, is I want martial players to feel as good as a magic player. Full stop. Like, that is the underlying statement, right? Which is
that is the genesis of the concept of all of the skills and everything. Is that yes, we just want martial characters to have options and feel like yes, I am doing things. I am not just basic attacking every single round in combat.
It also it conveniently ties into the fact that we were going for a more combat focused game. So and we
tactical combat,
and we wanted to reduce the quote-unquote role-playing aspect, which is actually combined into the skill description and like stuff like that.
Removing the role-playing aspect is not the correct way to put it. It's more like I don't want a player to have to do some mental gymnastics to figure out exactly what their character is doing mechanically. Right? If I want to slide kick someone, okay, just slide kick someone. Like that can be a skill, right? That could be something that you do in particular, and we give you a specific thing. If your average person is going to try and do that, they may not be as good at it, right? They can try, but they may not be as good at it. But if you are someone who's trained in doing that, then this should be something that is a part of your repertoire. It is a skill, right? So you can use your skill whenever you want to because you've learned it, right? It's not something that you have to be like, okay, I'm gonna look at the situation and force myself to like, oh, this is technically a shove, it's a grapple, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna move, and then what you get, like not even half a fireball, right? It's a lot of work for no return. Right? Barely any return.
And that's if you succeed.
That's right.
Because that is also one of the few quote unquote downfalls with martial, which is they have to go through in D&D it's AC lah, right? And in our case it's evasion lah, right? So if you don't even get through that, then you just fail. And then whatever you have described, right, just goes to waste.
I mean, we still do that. That's not something that is gone. That,
but because of the fact that you don't have to imagine, you don't have to do a lot of like this kind of stuff, it's kind of clear for you to explain what you want to do. Because it's right in front of you, it's in the card. Right? So, and that's also one of the reasons why we have the cards. Yeah.
Where's the card here? Right. Here's an example of card. I have
Assassinate?
Not assassinate. I put a preview of one of the cards on X. So if you go to X, there's a picture of one of the cards, right? And I'll be doing more card reviews as we do more reviews for the different masteries as well, right? So if you want to go just check out, follow us on X, and follow us here as well. You can subscribe, hit the notification bell. We do streams on ideally Wednesday and Saturday, right? Depending on the timing. One is in the morning, one's at night. Yeah, because we're in Singapore, not super convenient for our friends across the pond. And in Europe, I'm sorry, my friends in Europe, you are really hard to hit in Singapore time in the Singapore time zone, right?
It's not saying it's impossible, but
it's rough. There are some hours like if we want to hit UK prime time, it's 4 a.m. here. Like holy shit,
no way.
we're not doing that. We're not doing a 4 a.m. stream just for that. Yeah. Yeah, so on that point, what we did with the martial caster divide is that we sort of equalized it. It's not equal. Don't get me wrong, it's not equal. Martials, at the end of the day, a martial is very much focused on their tools, their weapons. This could be your fists are technically a weapon as well, right? It's very much focused on the body, the physical components. Could be a bow. A bow is physical as well, right? So all of these things are very much you.
It's more down to earth.
It's
I don't know if
you
that's
could
the
put it
right
that
word.
way. You could put it that way. Right?
I'm not sure you can put it that way,
You can
but
put it
it's
that-
more down to earth in that it's a very physical thing.
Yes,
Right? Where
yes.
I'm actually hitting you with something. Right?
Yeah. So when it comes to balance and the way we design martial is very much balanced around your weapon, right? Or whatever is considered your weapon. Casters, on the other hand, are much less reliant on their weapon. They are more focused on what spells you have available, your skills, the way you want to use your stats, right? We haven't gone through this yet, but this Saturday or Friday for Americans, we'll be going through an upcoming mastery that is a magical mastery, right? And we'll show you how this mastery in particular makes use of stats in a very interesting way, right? And I think that the scaling in that mastery in particular is quite fun. It's quite fun. It doesn't scale in a traditional sense, which is like, oh, if I roll and a +2 and I get 2 damage or 2 to hit. It has quite a few more interactions. Yeah. Thing multipliers and not multipliers for damage, but multipliers for other things. Yeah. So that's a little bit of a sneak peek. Yeah, but that's for casters. But when it comes to martials, yes, we also give martials what is essentially spells and skills to perform specific techniques, right? And I think that at that point, these techniques encapsulate what is a spell for using a spell that is casted using a weapon. If you are doing a double swing is kind of a spell. It's a spell that you swing your weapon and it hits twice, right? But in a fantasy, imagination, or role playing sense, you can kind of imagine like, yeah, you're doing a particular action, which is not that different from a somatic component in a spell.
It is basically only somatic.
Kind of.
Correct.
There's some parts that are
there is
vocal,
no
you have to shout at people,
vocal,
yeah.
correct. I mean, you have, but vocal are not compulsories. Correct. Yeah. I mean, okay, it's not a martial. It's what we call a specialty mastery, but yeah.
Right. That actually links on to the very last point. So this is going to be a short one. We don't have too much time left. It's about 8:51 here in Singapore. Right. So with all of these cards, yes, spells are cool, but spells have a different problem, which is that spells, you have to remember things, or you have to refer to things all the time to remember what spells what spells do. This is notoriously bad in a spell that has more than a paragraph. And that even depends on exactly how big your one paragraph is.
Okay, even if it's a short one sentence thing, right? It's still, we are not going to remember, right? Okay, you're not going to as reliably remember. You can kind of remember what it does, but you don't know what's the exact wording.
Yeah, you can remember things
damage.
in a practical sense.
Correct.
But you might not remember every single word in the paragraph. And once you get more and more spells, like a wizard has a spell book, literally, right? You have a book to look at your spells. You definitely won't remember it. Even mechanically, a wizard doesn't remember his spells. Think about that, right?
And the reason why we chose, so there is a different solution to this, which is you go digital. Yeah. But I think that was something that we were kind of not a fan of, because we wanted it to be more like
tactile
stuff like that.
But I think that there's a separate issue when it comes to digital, is that you still have to flip through your phone or scroll through your skill list to actually find this thing. Click in, read. And while you're reading, because of the very nature of digital things, when we design them, and this is coming from like a mobile game background, right? When you have digital UI, you tend to obfuscate details and then review them when you tap them, or you just dump all the information within.
I mean, that is very due to the fact that you have very limited space, correct? And how do we,
or rather, you have a lot of space on digital, and you have very limited space outside of it, like on a piece of paper, right? So imagine if you had to write all of your skills on a piece of paper, you would treat spells very differently. You would treat what spells are allowed to do very differently.
I mean, that will be a kind of an evolution in that sense, where you start to shorten the spells. Right. So at that point, right, we were just thinking, why not we just shorten ourselves? Like we just make the cards, the description, everything as short as possible, and have it inside a card instead, so that players can bring it around and read and use it also.
It's good to hear that you're becoming warm to the idea of cards, right? I think when it comes to cards are basically a compressed form of a spell, right? You have all the details on spells. You have like cast time, all your components, but essentially these are all like details that you have to know in one way or another that is laid out. Currently, traditionally, it has been laid out in words, and they're laid out in your stat blocks, they're laid out in your spell list, all of your scrolls and whatnot. But these things, because you're given so much space, you tend to bloat them when you design them.
Correct.
Imagine, I think like summon angelic being or any of the summons in D&D is like a whole page long, right?
Yeah.
Now, are you gonna remember these things?
It's especially bad for summons, correct? Because summons, right, they always
they come with a stat block.
Correct. So it comes with a stat block. And because if we have a skill card system, right, or a card system, we can just put that stat block on another card.
Right.
Correct.
So yes, the idea of a literal spellbook does sound very cool.
Correct.
And let me blow your mind here, right? What do you think having multiple cards is? It's basically a spellbook, right? You have a list of cards with simplified skills. So like, okay, it's going to be a bit difficult.
Yes.
Each card has a maximum of maybe like 5 to 6 lines, and the font size needs to be big enough for you to read.
Yes.
These are your MTG size cards.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So these small descriptions force us as the designer to be very precise with our words, to get exactly the effect that we want, and limit our design spaces into
and
what
not
can
just
fit.
bloat the thing.
Right.
So and actually this also changes the way you create skills, because you create skills with the purpose of not having to overwhelm your skill in the future. So like making old skills redundant lah.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. And I think one of the main reasons why I was also pushing kind of for skill cards is also the fact that portability is the main thing.
Oh yeah. It's very portable.
Yeah. Because,
so as you mentioned, right, like having a literal spell book. Now that's not portable. Yes, you could carry a book around with you realistically, but really, like you could imagine having let's just say each you print out every single spell in your spell list in D&D and you put it into a book. You can carry this book around. Sure. How are you going to bring this book everywhere with you every time you want to go to your friend's house? Yes. Okay. For reference, in Singapore, not most of us don't drive cars. we physically walk there or we take public transport.
Most of us physically don't have cars.
Yeah, most of us physically don't have cars. So this is a perspective that comes very much from our living conditions. Yeah. Right, but yes, like carrying the book around with you and bringing it to the table and opening up, it is a hassle. It is very big. So having a bunch of cards, not too many, within up to 10, right? Typically less than 10. Typically you're gonna have about 5 or 6, right? Just enough for you to hold in your hand and look at the options that you have as you're playing the game. And this could be in combat, this could be out of combat, right? This could be a passive that's like, it's reminding you that you have advantage when you do certain things, right? So you might be encouraged to do these things more, right? This extends to just now we were talking about racial skills. So racial skills are also a card. They're also a skill. They're laid out in the same way. They're not a special race card or anything.
Correct.
They're just another part of your capabilities.
There are special cards, but they're not for players.
That's a different story.
Correct, that's a whole different story. So
so this is a GM card. So the GM card is a monster card, and the entire stat block fits on the back. This is a jumbo size playing card. It's just 2 cards.
2 size, yeah.
Yeah, it's just 2 cards side by side.
So also like, so that is the more practical aspect of skill cards.
Right.
There's also a secondary usage that is kind of quote unquote hidden in that sense, where the art itself, right, is able to help players, right?
It evokes your imagination.
Evokes the imagination, right, and helps you to fulfill the fantasy that you want as well.
That's great. You can check out more reviews of our cards as we go through we do the campaign run up to Kickstarter as well. Yeah, Dagger Heart uses cards as well. I have different thoughts about the way they've used cards. It's cool. It's good. We have referred to it, and it is a good step to introducing cards to players. But I do think that for Dagger Heart, a lot of the bulk of what is in a card, more of it could be on the card and less of it could be on their character sheet, because their character sheet is still massive.
Yeah, so actually on the topic of portability so we also actually have character sheets, and they are designed for like, this is
so this is A5 right in my hand here.
A5, yeah.
For reference, this is A4. our character sheets are meant to be small.
Correct. So everything is meant to be portable. So the sizing are all like small size, and even though they're small, right, they are still big enough for you to write stuff. And specific character sheet, the reason why we can even do that is because, right, we have very little things that you need to even write.
Yes.
Because what is needed is on the skill card.
These are your cards. Right.
Right. So it's really very convenient in that sense. You don't have to write a lot. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just hold a little bundle of like 5 to 6 cards and your 1 A5 sheet, and you're good to play Aeons of Adventure. And 2d6, of course, right? But honestly, you're gonna get a 2d6 in most houses anyway, so that's probably pretty easy. And okay, with that, it is now 9 p.m. It's getting really late in Singapore, and so thank you for coming to episode 3 of Behind the Workbench. Right, this is where we just talk about like our design thoughts about whatever we are doing and why we did them when we did for Aeons of Adventure, our upcoming TTRPG. Links for the pre-launch page and all of our social media is in the description below. Feel free to leave a comment. Please like and subscribe. Helps with all of the YouTube algorithm things.
On the cards also, if you have any like questions or stuff like, you can also leave it in the comments.
Yeah, leave it in the comments.
Yeah.
If you want, you can add me on X. I am more active on X because it is easier to comment to people.
We also have Discord. So
yeah, yes. Our link for Discord channel is there. That is the prime way to get to us. Right. So you can just literally add us in Discord on the Discord server, and we will answer any questions if you do have any, or if you're curious about some mechanic or anything else. Right. You are awake at this time, right? It is really early over there, I think. I think it's like 10 a.m. now. Like
I can't do time
8 a.m.
zones. My brain's not working.
Time zone. All right. Anyway, it's getting late, so we are signing out, and thank you for coming.